Cool. So just click the background so that you can see the full screen again. But I think we have everything to get going. The last person that we also have in the room is Farad, who is our marketing manager. Can you give everyone a wave in the back? And yeah,
Cool.
I think we'll hear a little bit from Farad as well at some point in the in this session as well. But guys, once more, I invite you to ask any questions that you might have in the chat. Please be sure to engage on there. And then at the Q&A at the end, we're also going to be welcoming any questions from you guys. But for now, let me actually just get going. Cool. Can I get a thumbs up? Does everyone see the shared screen? Seeing a thumbs up. Cool. So guys, the D School, or the Hasso Plattner School of Design Thinking offers a few different student programs. So for a few people, you might experience it if you're part of if you go through a curriculum program where your curriculum actually has design thinking as part of their faculty. And that's one version that you'd experience. But everything that we're going to be speaking to today is going to be student programs that you guys can just sign up for at any point. And if you just see a program that makes sense for the time frame that you have available, then we'd also invite you to actually join that program. So I'm going to speak to you about 4 programs, but then go into a little bit more detail about one specific one though. So the D School, D School Africa offers 4 different programs, student-focused programs, where you guys get to learn about design thinking and actually work on a real-world challenge to solve and learn a little bit more about. And you're going to get to use design thinking to actually learn about the process and also create real-world solutions for real-world challenges as well. The 4 programs where you get to do that, number 1 is the Foundation Program in Design Thinking. And that's a 9-week program that runs twice a year in each semester. And that one is a little bit more in-depth, and you get a very good, big deep dive into the actual design thinking process and all of the tools that are offered. And we also kind of put a bit of a focus on all of the mindsets that we also want our students to learn and embrace during the program. So that's going to be like the most in-depth program that you'd get to experience with the D School. And we'd like to highlight again that that's a 9-week program. I'm going to go into the structure of that program a little bit more shortly. So before that, I'm just going to speak about the other programs. Towards the end of the academic year, around November, December-ish, we offer the Design Thinking Week, where you get to work where we invite undergraduate students to work in large teams on the design thinking process, and usually on a real world challenge as well. And that's going to be a 4-day program where you get immersed into design thinking, and you get to actually learn a little bit more about the process, but also in a very light way. It's because at the end of the year as well, we also try to make sure that this is going to be one of the more fun experiences. And the thing that makes it fun is going to be the depth of participants that you actually get to engage with. Last year, we had about 60 to 80 participants who had joined, and it's always like really exciting getting people working on something creative in that large pool of participants as well. So if you do have a limited amount of time, we'd also like to invite you to consider the Design Thinking Week as maybe one of the programs that makes more sense for you. The third program type that we have is Design Thinking in Africa, and this is one of our more prestigious programs where we invite participants from 5 partnering institutions. And these participants work on a real world challenge. And in the past 2 years, we worked on challenges with UNICEF and UN Global Compact, focused around like climate change and climate resilience. And that's what we've been working on in the past 2 years. We've just completed the last program now. So this program typically runs in July, excuse me. So between the 2 semesters, and we usually accept between 5 and 8 UCT students, and then between 5 and 8 students from other institutions as well. So you get to partner up with 5 institutions across the continent. And this would be students from Cairo, or American University of Cairo, Ashesi, which is in Ghana, University of Nairobi, and KNUST, I think, which is also in Ghana, and UCT being the 5th. But with that, we want our participants to be ready to work on a real world challenge, collaborating with people internationally, and actually leveraging on the joint perspectives from across the continent to see what cool stuff that we can create for real world challenges as well. The final program format that we want you guys to be aware of, if you really just want to get a taste of design thinking, find out just how much design thinking you can learn in about a 2 to 3 hour period. So for that, we offer you guys a design dash, and we just need you guys to like look out on the D School website to see when exactly design dash is run. But this is just a 3-hour deep dive into design thinking, where we'll run you through the entire design thinking process. very lightly. You'll get exposed to some of the tools and you'll get to see some of the mindsets that we actually ask you to embody. But this one is very light. And because of that, we don't really focus on a real world challenge. And we rather want to let you guys experience, or we want you guys to experience design thinking through the challenges from people in the room. So that one, I think we'd want you to just like experience that. Come for a design dash if you just want a taste of any of the design thinking stuff. And if you want to see if this is going to be something you want to participate in the foundation program, in Design Thinking Week, or in Design Thinking Africa, we'd always suggest checking out a design thinking dash just to get a little bit of a taste and an idea of what to expect in the program. For now, I'm going to speak to you guys a little bit more about the foundation program in design thinking, because that's going to be our upcoming program. This one is focused more so to students who are about to finish their undergrad. So if you're in your third or final year of your undergrad, we welcome you to come to the program, and also to postgraduate students. Those are the targets of the program. We really want students who have a little bit of their background and like their discipline to be able to lean on a little bit. But wherever your discipline might fall short, we really want you to embrace the design thinking process and see how exactly you'd fit that into the workflow. But you'd get to work in a pool of participants that is also very far in their studies. There's going to be a lot of diversity of thought in the room, and you'll get a little bit of shared experience just by exposing yourself to that large range of students. I'm going to go forward and speak a little bit more about this foundation program, just so you guys get a bigger sense of what to expect. So this is a bit of a program overview, just to give you guys an idea of some of the learning outcomes of the foundation program. So by the end of the program, we want our students to be able to demonstrate an understanding of the design thinking mindset and the process, demonstrate creative confidence to discover and solve real world problems, identify and illustrate stakeholder relations in wicked problem ecosystems, examine solution and appraise user feedback to demonstrate empathetic design practices, operate effectively and collaboratively in multidisciplinary teams, and also to create presentations and artifacts and communicate creative ideas. This is just a little bit of a screenshot to show you guys what happens in a team space and the kind of creations that can emerge in the actual program as well. The program structure will always have 3 different phases of the program in the foundation program. The first phase is going to be the D-camps, where we invite our students to actually experience design thinking in a day-long program. So it's about 6 hours, and we want to actually do a thorough selection to see which participants are most suited for our program. The second thing will be once our participants are selected, we'd like to invite students for the actual program itself, where the first phase of it will be a deep dive into all the design thinking mindsets. And then the second phase will be the project partner challenge, where we're going to be spending about 8 to 9 weeks actually working on a real world challenge posed to us by a project partner who we're partnered up with, who will give us a real world challenge and also wants an actual solution for whatever they've posed as well. So we want you guys to keep that in mind. And that's more or less the program structure. But then we accept up to 30 participants, and you'll always be working in teams of 5 or 6. And you'll always have a coach, a dedicated coach, who's going to coach you through the design thinking process. And then you'll get like all of the inputs on presentations like from the front space. But we're going to give you guys a little bit of a look at what that looks like. In terms of the time commitment around it, this is, again, just that program structure, where in the first block, we're speaking about the D camps, where we want our participants to be selected for the D camps, and we want you guys to attend one of these sessions, and that's where you'll be selected, and that's where we're going to select our participants. The second block is going to be all of the mindset activities and all of the mindset deep dives, where we want you guys to just like think about the mindsets around design thinking. And then the third block over here, this is all just, this block over here is going to be the project partner challenge, where in this entirety of the block, you're going to work on the project partner challenge. The thing I want you guys to keep in mind over here is that it's going to be a bi-weekly commitment. So twice a week, we want you guys to be available for a 6-hour session. And I'm going to show you guys more or less what happens in these sessions. But this needs full commitment from all of the participants, because it actually affects how your team's experience will also be. You're going to be working quite strongly with your team. So we ask that if you are available for this program, please be mindful that we need you to be available for 2 sessions a week, 6 hours each session. The only exceptions will be the first and the final week, where it's going to be 3-day weeks, excuse me, with each session running for 6 hours again. All of this information is also on the website right now, so you can also just like look at that again if you want to be sure which one works best for you. But please be aware of the time commitment that's expected from all of our participants. It really affects the experience for everyone. Right now, I want you guys to just have a very quick look at what this program looks like in person. So I'm going to play you guys about a 3-minute video. Can I get a thumbs up if you hear the audio and I see you on screen? So just let me know. The foundation program is a 3-month program where we teach all of the basics of design thinking in a project partner challenge.
The partnership comes out of the work we were initially doing a couple months ago on something called Innovation for Impact, conversation that my manager was having a couple months ago with Richard Perez, the head of the D School in Cape Town, about the potential for design thinking within the public services sector.
So design thinking was an opportunity to kind of refine that process, to see how I can learn how to do it a bit more creatively and in a space with people that I can get to know and a challenge that I can really take on.
Bertha House exists here and invites those social change actors to find a home here, to find co-work space here, to find community here, and to find the resources to bring the programming that they need to do. Globally, social change work has been rising quite a bit over the decades. In trying to address it, we start to think of ways that start to change the system that are causing the challenge.
Today, we're at the Wellington Library to engage more in the observation phase. We want to see what kind of programs they get involved with, the outreach they do, how they actually find out this information of what the community needs. There's a big drive and need to actually help out in the community.
Today is graduation day.
We're presenting to our project partners after like a long journey.
The journey thus far has been amazing.
I learned a lot from the students.
They get to out their ideas, creative problem solving in ways that they don't necessarily do.
They're very vibrant and open for ideas.
We had to do away with a lot of the assumptions that we had, because this is not just a theoretical problem.
I've really learned how to embrace ambiguity, how to be okay with failing fast so that we can, get back up and really run towards an even better and more creative solution.
It doesn't feel like it's been 12 weeks.
It's bittersweet.
Today is mixed feelings. In as much as I'm over the moon, this is the end.
It was such a beautiful experience for me.
It's always the journey that matters the most, even than the end goal itself.
All right, guys, so I'm gonna just do a very quick recap once more on all the different program types that we'd actually done. So that video that you guys got to see just now, that's the foundation program in design thinking. That's what 9 weeks of a design thinking experience can kind of get for you. I'd say a key thing that I'd also take away from there is that like people made a lot of friends. People actually got to meet people that they would be able to work with at different points. We're going to speak to 2 people in the room who are working with each other right now after completing a foundation program. And we're also going to speak to one of the alumni of the foundation program. You might have seen him in this past video, but you'll see him just now. But that is ideally for people who do have time, the 9 weeks commitments, twice a week and 3 weeks or 3 days at the start and the end week as well. Finishing your undergrad, or if you're a postgraduate student who has the time, please consider joining that program. If you're an undergraduate student and like you don't really meet the criteria of the foundation program, we're always welcoming you to the design thinking week, which will happen towards the end of the year. You can just check on the website for the exact dates again. But for that, you're going to get to work with a very, very big pool of students and actually work on a real world challenge again and get to experience a whole design thinking experience in about 4 days. The Design Thinking in Africa program will happen again next year in July, where you'll get to participate in a program with international perspectives from across the continent, work on a real world challenge for a real project partner again, And then we also want you to be ready to collaborate internationally for this online program. I think that's a key caveat. That one is online. And then the design thinking dash, which is going to be a 3-hour introduction into design thinking, where we get a very light touch on all the different design thinking tools and some of the design thinking mindsets. And that's where you really get to figure out, is this design thinking thing kind of for you? Key things that I want you guys to keep in mind is that, again, the programs that we've been showing, the foundation program, Design Thinking Week, and the Design Thinking Dash are all face-to-face at the D School and require the time commitments fully face-to-face. The Design Thinking in Africa program, that is online, because you get to be working with students from other parts of the continent as well. I'm going to stop there, and I would like to welcome a few of the other voices in the room, and maybe we could just start off with Ilyas. So right now we're going to hear a few different stories from the different alumni of the D School, and they're going to share with us a little bit about what their experiences of the past programs have actually been. So yes, I'm going to spotlight you here, but very keen to hear from you. Yeah.
Thanks, Diego, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for making the time. So I'll be speaking a bit about my progress since graduating from the foundation phase program, as well as my experience during it. So I joined UCT in 2021. I managed to get the opportunity to complete my honors in historical studies at UCT, transferring over from Stellenbosch University. So while wrapping up my honors, I saw this post on Vula, and I thought, okay, I'll join this program and try and discover some new things. And I'm not going to lie, the program itself was quite rigorous and intense. It's a very fast-paced and requires a lot of time commitment. But I think that the program, completing it, was one of the most fulfilling and rewarding experiences in my life. I think what I learned during design thinking, doing the course and while completing my honors, I think that when I remember my time at UCT as a student, I think of design thinking. The reason for that is the experience of being a design thinking student. So one of the beautiful things about the foundation program is it's a diverse group of people. I came in as a historical honor student, and in my group, I think Pearlie was actually in my team, and she was studying neuroscience. One of my friends, he was an opera singer. We had astrophysicists and mechanical engineers. So by grouping us all together, they sort of allowed collaboration, which was just breathtaking and like quite inspirational. The fact that each of us came as unique individuals, and we just were working on solving this one problem, and it was very fulfilling to see when that finished. After completing the program, I managed to secure a job, as I did join in my postgrad, and I decided not to study further. And in the workplace, I found that two mindsets that really resonated with me that I carry every day is the importance of having empathy as well as the power of collaboration. I try and bring these aspects into my day-to-day work life, and just having empathy and understanding that, I work in information technology. So everything that I do, I liaise with someone via email or messages via Teams and stuff like that. And sometimes the lines can get a bit blurry, and you tend to, forget that there's another human being behind the screen. So just remembering that, as well as trying to incorporate aspects of collaboration into my job, I think that's something that's needed as well. Sometimes working online, you can tend to feel a bit isolated, but knowing that your teammates, your colleagues, no matter how old or young they are, that everyone's working together to accomplish the shared goal, which is similar to what you'll experience in design thinking. By fostering collaboration and just keeping your end goal in mind, that's been my key takeaway, and something I try and implement daily. Thank you.
Oh, oh yes, thank you very much for that. I think, yeah, really cool to always like hear those perspectives as well. And yeah, guys, like I think that diversity of thought is something that you seldom get to experience in an actual UCT environment. When do you get to work with people who are outside of your discipline? At the D school, that's going to be one chance to actually get to do that. But also, when do you get to actually use all of your learnings from your discipline in conjunction with all of the learnings from the rest of the world? That's something that we try to answer by facilitating the space at the D school as well. And yeah, I think, Ilyas, thank you very much for sharing over there, because yeah, you've got to share a little bit about like how that actually looks there. And we're quite keen to hear from you as well. So yes, I'm going to remove you from the spotlight, and Ant, you are the screen on everyone's face as well, or vice versa.
Yeah, hi.
Over to
Hi
you.
guys. So I was actually in the video in case you didn't notice. Wearing a bright pink wig, and I think part of what I enjoyed the most about the course is the sort of acceptance to step outside of your comfort zone and be as creative as you want to be, I guess. So anyway, that's me in the video. I'm a BSc Construction Studies student. I'm in third year at the moment, and I guess when I first discovered design thinking, you get the email, another irritating email from UCT, but this one you don't brush off. So you explore it further, and what first comes to mind is that it's about design, but I think it's a misconception a lot of people make. It's really a process and a reframing of how you look at the world and challenges. And so with my construction background, I remember making a joke during our course, and that I was one of the few people on a site in January that realized that we were installing a toilet holder too far away from a toilet. We were just following a plan. And in that case, I realized, especially coming to design school, it's like like Ilya says, there's someone behind the idea that you're solving, and you need to realize that you can't just be following the steps on plan or on a screen. So yeah, D school, my experience, I realized I wanted to get involved, but then again, it comes down to, I think it's something that was Ilyas has mentioned, is the time commitment is serious, and you need, the same as what Diego says, is that you're part of a team, and it's a nice opportunity to get involved with a diverse set of people, but at the same time, you can't let people down. And I guess, I could be guilty of getting upset with people, but it's a very dynamic teamwork environment, and it's sort of reflective of what you do in the real world. The people come from all sorts of backgrounds. They have different contexts of how they think, the diversity, but you also need to be committed to the process. Everyone's involved with the outcome, and letting your team down has actually got a greater effect than you realize. In terms of like moving forward, so since the course, I actually, funny enough, I sat in a test for contract law. Who would have thought? I remember telling the guys at the course, guys, I wrote an answer in the contract law that had design thinking in it, and the lecturer loved it. And it was like, turns out the lecturer is a fan of design thinking. So she encouraged me to write a self-research paper, which has led to me starting a card game. So I've technically invented a card game for a subject, and I'll be showing them on Friday. But it's interesting. You can't really plan where these things end up, and I remember sort of weighing up the cost of the time commitment, and it's also a lot of stress and pressure, especially when you're in third year and you've got to commit to your courses. But you don't really realize what doors that opens up for you. For instance, I'm speaking now from design school, and if you take a look, the venue itself, you're got access to the venue. So it's not necessarily that you're attending a course, but you're sort of joining a community of people. So I mean, I come here and probably end up irritating people because I'm constantly here. And community is open for collaboration. It's much like what you'll experience in the course itself, but also after the course, that you should be collaborating and reaching out with your peers to sort of solve real world problems. Yeah, I think that's as much as I'll say. You're welcome to ask questions. But yeah.
And I think you said something very interesting just about it being like a team commitment and how you actually need to work in a team. One thing I'd actually want to hear from you very quick is like, how does the experience of working in a team at the D school compare to every other group project that you do whilst in university? What's the experience like? What's it like doing it in a specific place? And yeah, just tell us anything about that.
Well, okay, I always come back to the diversity. It's, you know, if you're in a group project, and typically when you're in university, you choose everyone you already know and your friends, and you kind of, they're a known force, a known quantity. So there's no risk there, and there's nothing new you have to deal with. There's no change in personality or dynamics. And of course, in the D school, we have no say. You just throw us in with a broad variety. So it's actually a challenge. It was a serious challenge for me, and you know that. But it's a great learning experience, I would say. Really, really good to, you know, you have to understand people better. And I know I'm guilty of not exploring, you know, who you're communicating with. It's not just, there's a long history behind that person, especially in a team dynamic. Managing conflict is a big thing, you know. Of course, and the course goes through storming and norming and all of the team dynamics. It's actually important that it's managed, even if it feels like it's conflict. It's part of the process, I guess. Nothing is ever actually personal, you know. Yeah, not sure if that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Yeah. Farad, quick hand from you.
Cool. Yeah. So Anthony, I've got another question for you. The top 10 skills of 2023 by the World Economic Forum, number 9 is leadership and social influence. Do you think having been a graduate of the foundation program has improved your leadership and social influence abilities?
I will start with this. Okay, let's start with the leadership. So I think a big part of leadership is being brave enough to actually step forward and say, well, something's not great. I have an idea, and you know, come with me and let's solve it. And that comes with the creative confidence that I think the course has given me. So, I mean, I don't have any sort of fear and anxiety about exploring the world further and presenting my ideas, you know. And I know I'm not popular with university, but I will still do it. So the course has given me that to add to my leadership potential, is that now I don't have the fear of presenting creative ideas, even if they, you know, abstract, you know, refine them a bit, but that diversity I know is actually valuable, and the world needs to hear about it. Okay.
Thanks, Ant. And a quick hand from Ilyas before we move on to Pearly also.
Thanks. I'd just like to speak about what Farad mentioned about social influence. I think if you're a postgraduate student and you're looking at exploring this course, I think this would be particularly useful to you. As you're wrapping up your study, what the foundation course really does teach you is to speak up. It makes you know that, it makes you aware that your voice is valuable, that every voice in the room, you have something to add and can benefit the group and as well as the project and the end goal. So I think that skill specifically transferred over to my professional career. Entering the workforce as like a recent graduate, you'd find that systems and things are in place. And often you'd feel a bit apprehensive to mention or, you know, try and improve or share new ideas. So just by having the confidence that, you know, my voice does matter and I can offer some good advice, and maybe this will improve the team's goals and objectives. That's something that design thinking really does encourage and really transpires over to your career.
Yeah. Elias, thank you very much for that as well. And yeah, I think there's a few more things that I would like to share also, but I'd like to welcome Pearly to also share her experiences before that as well. Pearly, I'd like to ask that you turn video on, unmute, and over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Diego. I also just want to say thank you for this opportunity, and I'll give a bit of background about myself. So I did my BSc at UCT, and last year I did my honors in neuroscience, and this year I'm doing my first year of masters in neuroscience. So I joined the foundational program in design thinking in my honors year. I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit challenging because I had to like write up my thesis while I was committing to this project. And like Tiejo mentioned, it's 6 hours like a day that you work with this team, and for me that was challenging. But the important thing that they also teach you during this entire process is that this mindset about showing up for your team and setting your team up for success. So throughout each week, so it was 8 weeks, and I see they say it's 9 weeks, but throughout each week, that was like the thing that drove me, like setting your team up for success. It's not always just about yourself. So it's about your team and the end goal. So keeping that in mind. So that was very important. And another thing that I also learned while working in such a diverse team, as Elias also mentioned, we were very diverse, is also adaptability and improving your listening skills. Because sometimes people will say things, but there's an implicit meaning behind what they say. And so my listening skills really improved. To understand what they're saying, not explicitly, but implicitly. So that's where you find out like insights, especially also when you interview different people. And you will also interview people, which is really fun, and finding like the need. But yeah, that then leads me to the need. Like that is so important. So this year, I'm in the process of creating a startup with an amazing team. And every time when you speak to different stakeholders, the one question that they ask you is, what is the need? And if you can't say that, like they won't invest in you. If you have passion and you know what the need is, then it's very likely that advisors, mentors, investors, they will help you. So yeah, that's what the design thinking process helped me with, to actually find the need. Because sometimes you just want to like jump into the solution space, but like finding that, oh, the solution that you actually came up with, it's not solving a user need. So it's very important to trust the process, as Anthony said, have patience, go through all those steps, to design a solution that will actually be used in the real world. And I can give you an example of what my project is that we're working on. So it's solving the problem of high maternal and fetal mortality rates in rural South Africa. And yeah, that's a wicked problem. And last year, before I did the design thinking program, I would have never thought I would tackle a wicked problem like this. But yeah, the design thinking process, it was like a stepping stone. And also, like Anthony mentioned, it's a community. It's not just one time, 9 weeks, okay, you do it, then it's done. No, it's actually taking what you've learned, using it as a tool and implementing it in your own life. And also what Tiejo said in a LinkedIn post, it can be as simple as like changing the way you cook, like being more creative with cooking ways or styles. So yeah, that's how it really happened, helped me. And then another important thing that I want to say, going back to the need, if you know your why and your intention behind wanting to solve a problem, the how becomes, in a way, I want to say easier, because you also like bring in a lot of people that can help you to solve that problem. Yeah, I think those are the most important things I wanted to say. Like I actually have a lot to say, but yeah, I still have 5 minutes. And then something smaller where I implemented creative confidence is, for example, in my own research, in the beginning of the year, I had to do a poster presentation for the first time. And usually like your supervisor will give you like a template, and then you have to follow that entire format, and it's like a lot of words and all of that. But I was like, no, I want to do something different. I want to have like bring out my creative juices. And so I actually had the confidence to persuade my supervisor to completely change the format of my poster. And it was such a success. So yeah, small things like that. That's where creative confidence comes in, and where design thinking really helps. And then just 5 things that I want to say that I took away from the design thinking process is bias towards action. It's trusting the process, creative confidence, iterate, iterate, iterate. And I think one of the most important things is challenging your own assumptions. And the way you do that is by going out, speaking to different stakeholders, interviewing people, and that helps a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pearlie. I think one thing I was also quite curious about from your experiences so far is what had the role of the coach been like for you? How did that affect your learnings? How did that affect your collaboration with other teams and team members? And yeah, what was that whole experience like for you?
So do you mean the coach during the 8-week design thinking process?
No, like working with a coach in your team specifically, like you'd always have a coach assigned to you. What had that experience been like?
Yes, so what I wanted to say is like the coach is there all the way. So like they do every step of the way. So they do give you space, but then they'll come into the space of your team, and they're very observative. That's what I also realized. And they're very good at picking up the weaknesses and the strengths of each individual in a group. And then they can like give their input according to what they've seen. And that kind of like helped like the team grow stronger and like kind of nudge them in a certain direction. If the coach sees, okay, they might be going off a bit more to the right, but then nudging them a bit to go into like focus a bit more. So I think for me that was very important and very helpful. But also even to this day, like I saw my coach just the other day, a week ago, and oh, it's great. Like again, it's a community. It's not just a once-off thing. You can speak to your coaches even after the foundational program, and they'll be there to help you and support you. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I think the very last thing that I'd add just about the whole coach experience is that for all of the programs that we run, the participants and their teams will always be coached by a coach who is very experienced with like within their own discipline, but then also within design thinking as a whole. They've managed many programs before, managed hundreds of teams as well. And they're always just trying to get the best outcome for your team. But this coach will be someone from who you can learn how to model the behavior of a design thinking practitioner. It's someone from whom you can also learn how to actually manage team dynamics with, but they're going to be almost the guide, the invisible hand, maybe a little bit more visible, but the hand that kind of makes sure that the team is able to build alignment, work within that alignment as well, work within a positive time constraint. I'm going to flag that early. And yeah, I guess like the entire experience will also just be like very guided. So for any dynamics that you guys might be worried about in terms of like working with teams and working with people, we'd like to welcome you to the idea that like it's going to be very well guided. The coach will also be more responsible for handling those dynamics, and come the points where the teams actually get to work a little bit longer with each other, then those responsibilities get handed over to the teammates as well. But that's a little bit about the program, a little bit about the process. And yeah, I'm going to remove the spotlight from you here, Pearlie. And right now, I would like to welcome any questions from anyone in the audience. I think if you'd like to, if you have any question that you'd like to throw in the chat, please ask there. If there's anything that you want to ask right now, please welcome you to unmute, turn your video on, just ask away. And yeah, we'd just like to respond to anything that you guys might not be clear about. I will give it 30 seconds, and yeah, we're all welcome to ask any questions still.
So we've got one from Colin in the chat. What are the costs of the programs? Diego, if you want to take that.
Cool. So the foundation, the Hasso Plattner Foundation supports a lot of our student programs, and it's the aim of the foundation to make design thinking more accessible to everyone across the continent. So for the 3 programs, for Design Thinking in Africa, for Design Thinking Week and the Design Thinking Dashes, those programs are free to all students. For the foundation program, we ask for a commitment fee of 950 rands per student. And that's for the entire 9 weeks of the program. And yeah, I think the market value of a similar program would be around 25,000 Rand per person for, I think, even a shorter program than that. But yeah, it's subsidized by the foundation because they'd like to make this learning process like a lot more accessible to everyone. And yeah, I think if there's any challenges around like that commitment fee as well, I think we're also welcoming any conversations, and like we're trying to make this as accessible as possible to everyone as possible. And yeah, so please contact us if you'd like to be a part of it, and the commitment fee might be a challenge. You'll just like speak to us and we'll see what can happen then. I see a second question from Buitumelo. Can we share what it is that we look for potential participants during the DCamps? I'll say in advance, one of the key things that we look at is going to be engagement. How well are you engaging with the content? How well are you engaging with your team? And we'd like to see how well you can actually try to push others to learn alongside you. We're not really going to penalize anyone for specialized knowledge or not having like a specialty in the field. That's not what we're looking for. We just want to see how well do you engage with the content and with the teams that you'd be working with. So yeah, during the DCamps, you're going to go through the entire design thinking process just across 6 hours. It's a little bit longer than like what the design dash would be. And in that 6 hours process, we'd also just be looking, like our coaches would also just be looking out at like how well do you participate with everyone else. And they have a little bit more of their own criteria that will see like how well suited you are for the program. So what we would ask you to do, engage fully, bring a smile, bring a positive attitude, and have fun with the process. Just like give yourself the freedom to actually try things out and play around with the process as well. That's really what we want to see. I'm going to continue reading through the questions here. Someone had asked like where in the program we see the program breakdown that we touched on in the beginning. Here in the chat, I'm going to copy the link to all of the programs that we actually have. In each of the programs, if you click on the link, there's a bit of a breakdown around the exact time commitments, the exact dates, and the exact times for each of the days as well. So if you go into the foundation program, you'll see all of the exact days and the exact times, the exact dates, excuse me, and the exact times. And then for any program that's still upcoming at a later point in the year, such as the DT week, there's a blanket dates that's thrown on there right now. And like the times are usually 9 to 3 there as well, but like those will be updated as soon as that information is available and you can find it there. But our call to action for you guys will be this link in the chat. You'll also get a follow-up email after this meeting now, but this link in the chat, just have a look over there to see which program makes sense for you in terms of your time availability, which program makes sense for you in terms of what you would like to see and learn from design thinking, and which program works for you in terms of what you can give to the program and the people that you'll also be working with. So just have a look at that. Once you know, make the application, just like click the link and apply. I'm going to continue down with the questions again. So the DCamp stuff, where in the programs at the times. And then Fatima had asked 9 weeks face-to-face. Yes, it's going to be fully face-to-face. We need you on campus in our middle campus building. We're going to be in Studio 3 for the foundation program, and you need to be there face-to-face at all times. Your team will be relying on you to work with them fully throughout the 9-week program. So please be available for that, excuse me. If you are unavailable for the 9-week program, and yeah, I think like there are other programs which might be better suited to you as well, and better suited to your time availability. I think the wiggle room that we give, it's usually, we give like 90% attendance for you to still be eligible for your certificate of completion for the foundation program. And yeah, if you aren't available, if you miss more than the 90% of the sessions, we can still welcome you to the program. But if it's affecting your team experience, then like we might ask that you leave the program. I think just as a heads up, we're not trying to catch you out. We're not trying to be like, haha, there it is, you missed another one. We really just want you to be able to commit to an experience that affects the teams that you also work with. And that's really it. But try to be there for 90% of the sessions. And yeah, the time commitments outside of the session, I like that question quite a lot. So for us, we do expose you to a lot of content that we want you to engage with in the 6-hour session. And that's going to be plenty of time for you to actually try many things, try a lot of cool ideas, try different ways to express your ideas as well. But if you would like to go above and beyond, and if your team is also trying to do that, we really encourage a lot of that exploration to happen as well. That's going to be a lot more of a self-guided process though, with you and your team. And that's something that you guys would need to do. I think the one thing that I do need to keep note of is that you also asked that our participants for the foundation program complete a project report where you get to share the story of all of your learnings and in the design thinking process and how you got to your solution. And that's what that report kind of puts together. That time for putting that report together is also made available in the 6 hours of the program days. And we ask that you work to the time or work with time as a positive constraint, because we are factoring in time for you to do that. In practice, some teams might need a little bit more time and might want to put in a little bit more work into that project report. And that might be one instance where your team might ask you to meet up outside of the program hours. So be ready for that. I think if you are managing to finish everything within the program hours, then you won't really have to do anything compulsory outside of the program hours. If you are falling behind, we do ask you guys to just like put in a little bit more time, but it's really just going to be based on how much you're falling behind. But yeah, I think I'll pause that question there.
Diego, can I just ask you to just touch base on certification specifically for UCT students? So foundation program is open to other postgraduate students from other higher education institutions, but for UCT students specifically, it does go into your transcripts, but I'll leave it to you just to clarify that.
Yeah, so the thing for us referring to there is that there's a system called like UCT Plus that also reflects the design, like it reflects any extracurricular programs that you run on your transcript. And if you go through the foundation program in design thinking through D School, you'll also get an advanced leadership asterisks appear like through UCT Plus onto your transcript. So once you complete that, then you'll be eligible. What you need to get for that, I think participants need to be there for at least 90 hours of an extracurricular program, I think. And you would cover all of that within the foundation program. I think the foundation program is, my estimate is around like 120 hours in total. And yeah, so you would be eligible for that UCT Plus points as well. Again, that requires the full attendance for our participants. And yeah, in addition to the UCT Plus, we also give a certificate for your completion of the foundation program. And I think the certificate is one thing, but the thing I want you to also take a highlight of is actually the program report, because that is going to be a tangible project that you have completed that you can put into your own design portfolio of a real world challenge, solving for a real world partner and a real world organization. So we want you guys to hold that just as highly as you would a certificate, just as highly as you would hold something on, hold like an additional point on your transcript as well, because for anyone that has completed the program, they have a record of how they actually, they have a record, of how they've actually used design thinking to solve a real world project. So please be ready to take on that actual project report as something that holds just as high a weight as a certificate and the UCT Plus points as well. Question around the design thinking dash is going to happen on the 1st and the 3rd of August from 9 until 3, I believe. And I'd like you guys to actually just like click on the link that's here in the chat. You're going to get more information again after the session and a follow-up email. But yeah, just click on the link and see which exact program will make sense for you. But if you want to come for foundation, we want you to attend one of the D camps, only one of them. So you just sign up and tell us which one you want to attend. The second one will be the exact same thing. It's just to accommodate for time. But you attend one, the coaches will also get a sense of like how you fit into the program. And then we'll let you know shortly after the D camps whether or not you've made it into the program. Once you know if you're in the program, you'll be expected to come in from the, I think the correct date, from the 15th of August is when the program would start up until the 20th of October. And we'll send you all of the follow-up information if you do make it into the program. Another question about, do you need to be a UCT student? I think this has been opened for, this has been responded to already. So you can be a UCT student for foundation. You can be outside of UCT as well for foundation. And then for the other programs, you do kind of focus on UCT, especially for the design thinking in Africa. We want UCT students there more than anything. But yeah, I think, again, all of that information is available on the website, so please be ready to look through that. The last question, face-to-face or virtually, all 9 weeks fully face-to-face. I think just emphasis on that once more. And then application for design thinking dash. Farad, the last question over here is that the application for the DT dash. Yeah, can you speak to that quickly?
Sorry, so the next design thinking dash, which is open to anyone, is not on the 6th of September. So apologies about that. It is on the 14th of September from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the D School. And that you would have had a sneak preview when Anthony showed his screen earlier.
And yeah. So yeah, guys, I think there is a little bit to take in there. But I think the quickest call to action that we'd like you guys to take, I'm going to copy it in the chat once more. It will come in a follow-up email once more. But please click the link there in the chat. Have a look at the programs that we had been speaking about. See if there's anything that makes sense for you in terms of the time commitment and in terms of what you're trying to take out of the design thinking process as well. Apply for that program, but have a look to see if which of the programs make sense for you. But yeah, we'd really just like to welcome you guys into the D School. If you want to actually just have a look at any other point and just like walk past our building on Middle Campus, also welcome to have a look. Come say hi to us, come see what's happening in the actual spaces. And yeah. I think there's a lot of cool stuff to see.
Yeah, the campus, sorry, our building is completely open to all UCT students. So there is a food and connect. So come visit us. We grab a coffee downstairs. There's lots of working space for you. So yeah, come visit us.
Yeah. Okay. Student number with the hand raised. Welcome to hear from you. Just unmute.
Oh yes. Thank you so much for the presentation. I just wanted to find out quickly, what's the call of action if you've applied, and yeah, what's the way forward and you don't have to apply?
Cool. So if you've applied for any of these programs, we should be sending you back like some kind of comms to let you know either when to come for the D camps, if you applied for foundation, for example, and for any of the other programs, like closer to the time of the program itself, you'll also be contacted by our program coordinator. So you'll hear from Rene, or you'll hear from one of the lead coaches for the specific programs. So that would be either me or Marissa. And yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. And yeah, I think before we close, I would like to welcome everyone to do something very brave. I'd like to welcome everyone to turn their videos on, wave at everyone in the room so we could say goodbye. If you don't want to turn your video on, we would like you to unmute and just say goodbye to everyone. And yeah, thank you very much for making time, guys.
Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.